We have more access to books than any other generation in history, but somehow we're reading less and less each day. And the more I thought about it, the more it does not make sense to me. Because if you really do think about it, reading isn't just a normal skill. At one point in history, it was actually dangerous. We all know that there was one point in time where there was laws set in place for certain people not to be able to read. And because of this, two very prominent people in history came to mind. These two men utilized literacy as a powerful tool for liberation and freedom. Nat Turner and Frederick Douglass. Nat Turner led a rebellion in 1831 that led a band of followers into a violent revolt in Southampton County, Virginia. And because of this, at least 55 white people were killed. Of course, this uprising led to the intervention of the militia, and eventually Nat Turner was executed. As a result, new repressive laws were set in place that were much more strict for Black people to not have access to educational rights. Frederick Douglass used literacy as a pathway from slavery to freedom, using it as a way to gain control over his life and fight against his enslavement. And because of his perseverance, he was able to escape and write his very own book titled Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. He was able to use his literacy to fight against abolition and expose the brutality of the slave system. To put it simply, it was a realization that the enslaved people had the right to think, organize, and understand what was happening to them. And in turn, that is when control tightened, especially around education and reading. So it would be easy to think that all of this was just history, but it simply is not. Our freedom to read books and the right to our education did not end with slavery. The Island Trees Union Free School District in New York City removed several books after deeming them anti-American, anti-Christian, anti-Semitic, and just plain filthy. So students led by Stephen Pico sued, claiming that the removal of the books violated their constitutional rights, which is true. So the Supreme Court issued a narrow and divided ruling, but its central message was extremely clear. Students have a First Amendment interest in accessing information and ideas, and libraries are meant to be a place for exploration and independent thought, not a place for limited access because of political or ideologic disagreements. The idea of the freedom to read includes the freedom to encounter different perspectives, and that restricting the access to certain books can threaten that freedom. And even with that discussion, that tension cannot disappear. We are still seeing discussions today about banned books, censorship, and defunding libraries. So unfortunately, access to reading is still being challenged, but in a different way. But what I find even more interesting is that even when we do have the access to these books, we are not engaging with them. As of 2026, this year, roughly 21% of US adults are functionally illiterate, meaning that they struggle with basic reading tasks and cannot read well enough to manage daily living and job requirements. So yes, the freedom to read is heavily correlated with the literacy crisis, library defunding, and rising book bans. Data indicates that these are not isolated issues, but they are actually interconnected factors that create a chilling effect on reading, reduce access to literature, and ultimately hinder literacy development and critical thinking. Book bans directly affect people's access to voices and stories, which can lead to lower reading engagement and volume. Research shows that 72% of educators believe that when access to books is restricted to their students, their reading engagement declines. Efforts to reduce or eliminate funding for libraries, or to even penalize the library staff for providing certain reading material, directly affects the quality and the diversity of resources available. When libraries are defunded, they are forced to reduce their collections, their funding, their staffing, which unfortunately limits the freedom to reading for the entire community. It's unfortunate because these book ban causes teachers and librarians to preemptively remove these books from their collections with fear of losing their job, limiting access to diverse literature, which is essential for engaging reluctant readers. So if the power of reading is still in the palm of our hand, the real question is, how do we start taking that power back? The first thing that you can do is to support your local library. It literally costs $0 to sign up for a free library card. And this will be the segue to expose yourself to so many great books and critical media that you may enjoy. Use your voice to speak up and advocate, advocate, advocate. There are tons of advocacy groups that you can support online, like United Against Book Bans, PEN America, the Freedom to Read Foundation, American Library Association, and so many more. I'll have all those linked down below. These organizations help to fight against censorship, supporting library workers and librarians. And most importantly is to protect and defend our First Amendment while supporting the right for libraries to continue collecting information. Also, something that is equally important is to buy banned books. Try to go out of your way to support local small business bookstores, indie bookstores, Black-owned bookstores, and you can also donate books to your local library or use your free little libraries that was within your community. There was a time when reading was controlled because it gave us people power, and today that power is still there. The difference is now is that you have to use it. So just start small. 10 minutes a day, no distractions, put your phone down. It's just you and a book. Because this isn't just about reading anymore. It's about thinking for yourself. YouTube thinks you're really gonna like this video here, so go ahead, click it, watch it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.